I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Tuesday, April the 12th. Governor Asa Hutchinson continues today his battle to persuade a tiny group of holdouts in the legislature to approve the Medicaid expansion financed by Obamacare in his so-called Arkansas Works program. Today, his strategy is to talk about how not approving that program will cost the state $150 million or so and do damage to the state's highway building program. Highways are popular with some people. Yesterday, we were talking about the damage done to services to foster children. Today, it's highways. Whether that's persuasive or not remains to be seen. Interesting development, I think, on some of the messaging that's coming out on both sides of this issue. Jim Hendren, a small government conservative who is nonetheless supporting the continuation of the Obamacare Medicaid expansion, says that the conservatives who say the state can get by without that money are wrong when they say that they can run a budget using surplus money to fund continuing cost of government operations. It's a recipe for disaster in the future, and he's certainly right about that. Normally, small government Republicans, though, do say that, when we eliminate the waste, fraud, and abuse and government operates as efficiently as it can, there's plenty enough money to go around. Also, some interesting talking points from the Koch Finance Americans for Prosperity chapter in Arkansas. They talked about how this government says it needs all this money, but it's giving away tens of millions of dollars in corporate welfare. If they can justify that, why can't they also pay for Medicaid? Fair point, I think. I'm not a corporate welfare fan. Elsewhere around the country, the North Carolina governor, Pat McCrory, who's facing a tough re-election battle, issued an executive order today attempting to undo some of the damage done by North Carolina's new gay discrimination law. This is the one that specified rules for use of bathrooms and continues to protect legal discrimination against gay people. There's been an enormous national backlash against North Carolina. Major businesses have pulled away from plans to add jobs there. A concert by Bruce Springsteen was canceled. All kinds of terrible fallout. His executive order promises to do some things to ameliorate this, but it's a mostly empty proclamation. I don't think it's going to help him very much. I'd urge you to take a look at the Arkansas blog and see what Ernie Dumas has written in his column this week about Mississippi's particularly terrible gay discrimination law. He reminds us of the days when religion was used as a pretext to justify another form of discrimination. That was, of course, during the Civil Rights era, when people said religion specified that black people were inferior and that they should be separated from white people. Arkansas's law, by the way, is no different in impact than the laws in North Carolina and Mississippi and Georgia. It was just written a little more craftily, where it seems to be general, but it has exactly the same outcome. Someday will be noticed as well. Reporting today in the Washington Examiner says that Marco Rubio supporters in Arkansas, the Republican establishment, have been working with Ted Cruz backers to ensure that after a first ballot vote in the Republican National Presidential Nominating Convention, when delegates are no longer pledged to support whoever the delegate was supposed to support on the first ballot, that they'll go for Ted Cruz. So the Rubio people are linking up with Cruz in the Stop Trump movement in Arkansas, as they're doing in some other states. Yesterday, Attorney General Rutledge turned down, not too surprisingly, a proposal to put on the ballot a strong ethics amendment to undo some of the damage done by the legislature to the last ethics initiative passed by voters. It was not unexpected. Her opinion making as Attorney General has consistently followed a Republican theme. She's for air pollution, she's against gay rights, she's against women's medical rights, she's against labor's influence in business, and being against the stronger ethics law just follows in that path. David Couch, who's trying to push this amendment on the ballot, will resubmit it and try and draft something that will pass muster with her. Interesting debate in Little Rock underway on downtown development. We've been seeing some of it. There's a historic district commission that believes neighborhoods ought to look a very certain way historically. As a result of that, they're standing in the way of a 50-unit apartment complex at 9th and Scott Street, where there's been nothing but an empty parking lot for better than a half century. They think it's out of context with the neighborhood, despite a number of changes made to make the apartment blend in with the surrounding neighborhood. City attorney says that the commission is looking too narrowly at the issue. It seems to me that downtown needs new residents, it needs more density, and $5 or $6 million in new construction doesn't seem a bad thing. The Historic District Commission seems to think a parking lot's preferable. Interesting to me. Speaking of city government, Molly Miller, a young political activist, has announced her intention to challenge City Director Joan Adcock for her at-large seat on the City Board of Directors. Adcock's a tough, proven veteran campaigner, Molly Miller says it's time for an end to the status quo and a more progressive outlook on city government. It could be interesting, but it'll be hard because the money tends to go with establishment figures in those races. Finally, what would be a day without Jason Rapert? He went on a local televangelist TV show this week to say that the money raising has been completed, and in fact, the Ten Commandments monument has been completed for placement on the state capitol grounds. He hopes that's going to happen in a few weeks. The decision to put it there by the Secretary of State will prompt a lawsuit and should likely delay its placement for some time. It was interesting, Jason Rapert claims this is not about religion at all. Of course it is. It's solely about religion, and we had Franklin Graham in town today on the Capitol steps to see another blending of government and religion. Rapert says the little foundation set up to raise money for this it's an American Heritage and History Foundation. Well, the post office box happens to be the same thing as his Senate campaign post office box, and also his Holy Ghost Ministries post office box. Another blending of church and state by a man who does it all the time, Jason Rapert. What would we do without him? We'd have to invent him. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.